You know, a lot of times when I was in SWAT, we had warrants, and sometimes we do 2, 3 warrants in a night. Narcotics had set them up. You'd rehearse different 3-1 would be in charge of each of the different warrants that we were going to serve, and you had different, you know, you might be on an entry on one, cover on the other, you know, working ladders, hooks, whatever it is, on the third. Sometimes it was, you know, 2. Sometimes, though, we'd actually have like 3 warrants. Maybe, I don't know if we ever had 4, but I know I was on a couple where we had 3 warrants in a night. And we'd go in, we'd hit the location, secure it, narcotics would come in, and this is when rock houses were just off the charts. It was just absolute bedlam. And when they had a rock house, they were really dangerous because as they started fortifying, they had initially steel doors and cages on windows. Then they had an actual cage on the door itself, and then more cage going into the house, and then another secondary steel cage literally going inside the house. So as we started escalating our tactics to gain entry and breach the systems, they'd start upgrading. So if you were in the wrought iron business down in South Central, you were probably doing pretty well. Anyway, we'd go in and we'd hit all these different locations, and you know, you're doing the rehearsals beforehand, and the 3-1 gets up there, so these are your duties, these are your duties, this is what you're doing, this is what you're doing, this is, so everything's laid out. And what we do is we hit that one, and then we code alpha a different location, we rebrief it and everything else, everybody good to go, boom, launch, hit that place. And then we come back, code alpha another location, good to go, boom, boom, and hit it. And on this one caper I was on, we hit this rock house, and it was kind of funny because everybody goes in, you know, when you're doing the rock house, you're doing break and rate teams, you know, deploying flashbangs. We're doing door pulls at the time with the hooks, sometimes explosive entries. So it got pretty dynamic, and we had a lot of, I know that SEAL Team 6 at the time, they'd come along and watch how we were doing this stuff, and they'd be in the back, and we had different entities and Tier 1 military groups that were with us that would come along, tag along to watch how we were executing these warrants and so forth, because a lot of the elements that go into a rock house service back then, now I don't think they make entry at all, but back then are exactly the same elements that you would have to overcome and obstacles and impediments that you would in actual hostage rescue. So a lot of similarities, and so it's in a sense it's a real world rehearsal for an actual hostage rescue if you got in a non-permissive environment, which is where the rock houses were all located. So we hit this one place, usual thing, I can't remember if it was a door pull probably, door pull, rake and break teams, boom, you know, and you hear the flashbangs going off and everything else. Well, it's all over. We got the suspects in custody. And I remember we're standing in the living room, 10 Dave at the time, Jeff Rogers. We're standing there. Now it's all quiet, you know, and it's been pure bedlam for the last 4 or 5 minutes. Now it's absolute quiet. And we hit all these things at like 0 dark 30 hours because that's, you know, the best time to hit them. And we can hear very faintly breaking glass and LAPD freeze. And then another board breaking glass, LAPD freeze. Boom, breaking glass, LAPD SWAT freeze. And everybody, you know, standing there in the living room, we're going, what the hell? And everybody looks around. So we walk outside, and we had this one guy in SWAT who, for whatever reason, just got disoriented. He hit the wrong house. He broke out every window on the house adjacent to the one that we hit. I think it was an elderly couple, if I'm not mistaken, but he had broken out all their windows. Fortunately, I don't think he had any flashbangs on him, but he broken out all their windows and was yelling LAPD SWAT freeze, LAPD SWAT freeze as he went down the line, not realizing, you know, there's nobody else with me here. But he kept on. So I got to give him kudos for absolute motivation. So yeah, that was pretty funny.